So, in this short episode, I'm going to give you just a tiny review of the general rules, and then we're going to jump into having intros of all the people who are going to be participating in the Scorch. General Scorch rules, it's a weekly thing where we all just kind of come together and we write for a prompt that is given, and someone chooses the winner and they become the next prompter, etc., etc. There aren't a lot of actual rules for the writing itself. Generally, the word limit is 3,000 words, and there is no minimum. So sometimes the winning piece is going to be like 10 words long. We have had those. And sometimes people are silly and they break the 3,000 words word limit, which people don't do very often. But none of these are going to be like super long. It is primarily a short fiction contest. Anyway, that's pretty much all you're going to need to know, so let's just jump into the intros. I will introduce myself first, since I'm, already here, and after that, we're just going to go in the order in which people joined the Scorch. Hey, my name's Bones, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm one of the Scorch founders, along with Peixe, so I've been in the Scorch since January 2018, although sometime in May 2018, I left for a year and a half due to living in a different country, and rejoined upon my return in December 2019. So I'm there for the beginning, gone for a year and a half, and then I'm back for the long haul. I'm primarily a fantasy writer, and I tend to avoid romance, but I am such a sucker for people who just support each other unconditionally. And I couldn't care less if it's romantic or platonic. I don't care. I just love people caring about people. So a lot of my stuff is very character focused. My scorches can be a little on the longer side. I'm one of the few people who have broken the less than 3,000 word rule multiple times. With permission from the judges, of course. A lot of my scorches are snippets from pre-existing worlds and books that I hope to write one day if I ever get around to it. So you'll see a lot of world building and reoccurring characters, although there are plenty as well that are just standalone. And some that were standalone, but then my brain started going and now they're not standalone anymore. It's a whole novel. Haha. My prompts are almost always quotes from things that I or one of my friends have said with no context, or lines that I've written in my book drafts that I think are funny or want to see different interpretations of. I like leaving things more open-ended so that people can write vastly different situations for me to enjoy. If you think I'm a funky little guy and would like to see more of me, and especially if you like anime, you can check out my YouTube channel, Bones Don't Melt, which is, in fact, where I get my Scorch name from. Mostly I have AMVs up there now, but I'm also planning on ranting endlessly about shows I enjoy and also ones I hated. So if you're interested in my nonsense, feel free to check it out.
Hello, inmates. I am Peixe, that is Portuguese for fish, and it's an inside joke from when I lived in Brazil. I have been in the cell block Scorch on and off since the very beginning. If I remember correctly, I came up with the idea for a writing competition, and then I brought it to Bones, and we fleshed it out together. And then Bones is the one who involved Cricket and actually made everything happen, because Bones lives a life of dedication and follow through. When I write, I tend to like fantasy and romance, so that pops up a lot. I also tend to care more about world building and lore than I care about the actual plot of what's happening in my writing, so that can sometimes be an issue. I really like to put in, well, especially when I'm feeling lazy, I like to do a lot of dialogue and not a lot of prose, so that happens sometimes as well. I feel like I am very inconsistent with my prompts. Sometimes I'm very specific in what I want to see, and sometimes I'm incredibly vague. So I can't recall any themes that show up when I prompt, really. And you can find me on Twitter, or I guess X, at Fandom Embraced, and that should have links to everything else that I have going on. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Cell block scorch intro. Round two. Hi everybody. I'm Cricket. My pronouns are she, her, although I accept any forms of respect, regardless of gender. So if you want to call me sir, that's fine. Um, I've been in the Scorch since the very beginning. Um, Back in 2018, I was living with Peixe and Bones. We were all college roommates, and they came up with this idea for this short story writing contest. They were like, every week you give us a prompt, you write a short story, we write a short story, you'll judge it, you pick the winner, we go again. And I was like, sounds great. Consider I also write stories because I want to do this as well. So we worked out this system um, where you would prompt and then the other people would write. You pick a winner and then that person would become the judge and give a new prompt. So we all got to cycle in and take turns, and that worked really, really well. So I've been the only contiguous member since 2018, which is crazy. We started in January, so it's been 6 years now, or we're in our sixth year, I guess. For a minute there, I was probably the person who had forfeited more than anybody else, but that's neither here nor there. What you can expect from my writing, I read a lot of fluff, I read a lot of humor. Um, I like fantasy concepts. I like exploring friendships. I like stories where people take care of each other. Um, I have a couple of like ongoing worlds that are sort of interconnected, that I kind of keep coming back to, which is fun. And I do also write like a good chunk of fan fiction. Um, a lot of it kind of depends on the prompt that week and kind of how it strikes me. I do sometimes write longer pieces, and I like those. Most of mine are under 1,000 words. And sometimes it's purely just vibes. Like sometimes the prompt just hits you in a way, and I have to do something stupid, and that's fine. Um, my prompts are either like whimsical or really dramatic, and there's no in between. And sometimes I'll give a prompt that's like obviously sad, and then I'll be like crying reading the scorches, be like, why have you done this to me? I did this to myself. um but yeah, and I get my prompts from like song lyrics and art pieces and quotes I hear out in the world that are interesting to me, sometimes from like podcasts I listen to or books I'm reading, or things I hear people say that I just think are like fun and should be explored. And I have a lot of fun choosing my prompt based upon the group that I have. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, ooh, SafetyMatches and Bones are going to write something really good for this. So that's fun to do. Other things, I'm sure I will be on the Stella Corps YouTube. I have some ideas, but nothing happening currently. Um, you can follow me on Tumblr. I'm Cricket's Lovely Fan Space, where I'm wildly inconsistent. And I also post a lot of the stuff I write on the Archive of Our Own under Cricket Writes. Um, and I think that's just about it. I'm really excited to get going into this Cell Block Scorch podcast situation. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Um, and I'll catch y'all next time. Okay, bye. Oh, we could have a thematic like keep burning sparks. That's so stupid. I don't know. I need it. What's the verbal equivalent of like the little cute Korean finger heart? Like, just I need a sign off. I'm gonna tell Bones to leave all of this in because I'm a mess, and I think you should all experience that. We're gonna be honest from the beginning. Um. Okay, love you. Bye.
Hello. You thought you were getting someone new, but it's Bones. Again. I am inescapable. So actually, I'm doing the intro for our fourth member, who will be going by Lost, ironically. She joined the Scorch in May 2018 when I left to keep it going, and was in consistently until March 2023 when she had to leave for other obligations. She's planning on joining back in around September of this year, but in the meantime, I, as the most obnoxious, will be her spokesperson. Okay, I asked her what she wanted me to say here, and she told me that I should just, like, figure it out. So if it's wrong, then it's her fault. Yeah? Cool. Okay. So, Lost's writing. When Lost writes, Lost just, she writes, you know? Like, there is no half-heartedness about this. When she commits, she's gonna rip your heart out. She is very serious about what she writes, and she, like, always wants to do a good job, turn in top tier work. So if you ask for something sad, she's gonna ruin your life. You ask for something funny, it's going to be hilarious. Lost is very good. 10 out of 10 would recommend listening to her stuff. It's very nice. Prompts. From what I can figure, Lost's prompts have like two modes. One is the really short kind of abstract phrases that leave a lot up to interpretation. Sometimes they're very random, sometimes they're from media or common phrases. You know, just short things that you can just kind of go wherever with and do anything. The other vibe is very specific, where she tells us something that must be there. A type of character, a specific quote, a person we're writing about, for instance. But other than that, you know, free to do what you want. And other endeavors, she does not have any at this time, so I'm sure we can keep that updated if she has anything when she gets back. But yeah, that's Lost.
What's up? It's your boy Grishmak. My pronouns are anyhow. I like them. Give them to me what you got. I've been in the Scorch for about 3 years now, and what you can expect out of my writing is short stories that get to the point I'm trying to make. I also like to push the boundaries of creativity and will sometimes write things that aren't exactly short stories, but that I think hit at the prompt in an interesting way. And as far as the prompts that I give, what you'll usually hear is something that's a snippet of writing or something someone said that I just liked, it sounded good, and I want to see it expanded upon in some way. And hopefully one day I will be cool enough to have something of a different nature to plug here.
Hey folks, I'm Octo. I've been in the Scorch since 2019, so about 4 years, I think. And when I write, I tend to either go comedy or like existential horror. There is no in between. It depends on the day, I guess. As for my prompts, they're more random. I literally just pop open a word generator and just click it until something happens in my brain and I have a prompt. So sometimes they're cool, and sometimes they're not cool. I'm not currently doing anything else on the internet that you can find me for right now, unlike some of the other people here. But I am looking forward to doing this podcast with everybody.
Alright, I'm Rev. I use they, them pronouns. I've been in the Scorch for almost 3 years now, and my writing tends to sit at about 1,000 words. I usually write sci-fi, fantasy, action, adventure, or romance, or kind of any combination. When I prompt, I tend to use song lyrics, or just sentences or lines from books or movies that I like. Additionally, you know, if you are so inclined, you can follow me on Tumblr follow me on Tumblr at RevGem, REVJEM. And additionally, you can find me on AO3 at RevWrites, REVWRITES. And finally, I am working on a YouTube channel where I'll be hopefully putting out videos with some kind of frequency, and you can find that just RevGem, same as the Tumblr. The specific at is at RevGemGrn, REVJEMGRN. So that's me. I look forward to sharing my stories with y'all, and hope that you enjoy the journey of our little cell block Scorch as much as I have.
Hello, my name is Red. I've been part of the Scorch for around 3 years, I think closer to 4. How I currently give prompts is I go to a random word generator and I hit the button a couple of times until a couple of words stick out to me and I form a sentence or something around them. Or I'm really mean and I think, let's make everyone's life hard today. And I give them that prompt. I used to do things I'd heard or things that I'd personally said, but I don't do that much anymore. My writing style is my writing style. I'm going to defend myself here and say that when I first started the Scorch, I was 15 or 16 years old. So don't judge me too hard on some of my early works. I know they're bad. The point of this is to get better. So there's that. My current writing is what it is. I would really like to get better at horror, thriller, mystery type writing, and as it stands, I don't have any serious projects. I do have a couple of worlds and characters that I plan on making real books for, but we'll see how that goes. I'm a big procrastinator, and yeah, that's it.
My name is, my alias in the Scorch is SafetyMatches. That's just what I use for my online name, but I already do another podcast where I go by my name, so my name is Seth. My other podcast is Pod/Cast, where we watch horror movies. That's not particularly important. In terms of the Scorch, I really like fantasy. I really like world building, so a lot of my Scorches will sort of take place in the same settings. There'll be a lot of recurring characters just because that's what I enjoy doing, I really enjoy, sort of epics and fantasy epics and that type of thing, so I do like miniature versions of those, and then my prompts are all over the place, really. It depends on how I'm feeling at the time.
Hey y'all, I'm Styx, she, her. Personally, I'm spelling Styx like the river in the underworld, but if you want to call me Styx, as in what's brown and sticky, that's your prerogative as a listener. I'm the most recent addition to the Scorch group. I joined up in September 2022. I think I'd probably known about it for around a year at that point. I was just sitting there trying to build up the courage to ask the others if I could join them. Every couple months I'd be like, I could ask. But wait, are we good enough friends for that? Anyway, yeah. September 2022, I finally sealed the deal. Big personal victory for me. My writing for the Scorch is a little bit longer than what some of the other writers do, but it is dialogue heavy, so I like to think that it comes across as pretty light, not chunky. I have also been known to pander to the judges. On that note, I would just like to say, for the record, I'm not sorry. As far as my prompting goes, I don't really think there's any rhyme or reason to what I prompt. I try to make the tone kind of ambiguous so that the writers that week can surprise me. I like it when I get sad stories and funny stories all lumped together under my prompt. So I do what I can to encourage that. Ultimately, I want to be a full-time writer, maybe in like 20 years, or maybe sooner. I'm actually looking for a literary agent for a finished project right now. It's been sort of soul-crushing. The going is slow. But I have hope, but not a lot of hope, because I'm cynical by nature. In the meantime, I submitted a novel-length work to a writing competition last year, and I didn't win. Just putting that out there. But the story is still up if you want to read it. The host website is called Inkit, INKITT, and the story is called Oh My God, They Were Roommates. It's basically exactly what you'd expect with a title like that. Cute little love story. I think so far a grand total of 4 people have read it, but all 4 people left 5 stars, so do with that what you will. My Inkit username is 5 past witching hour with no spaces. Welcome to our podcast, and I'm super excited to read some of my Scorches for you.
The Cell Block Scorch is a production of Stella Corps, an independent group of nerds sharing their obsessions with the world. We can be reached at thestellacorps@gmail.com through comments on your podcast platform of choice, our Instagram, Stella_Corps, and at our YouTube, also called Stella Corps. Feel free to check out our other productions on our YouTube channel, our cosplays on Instagram, or if you would like to support our creative endeavors, check out our Patreon or donate to the Ko-Fi of the writer of your favorite Scorches.